Hello, everyone. Today, my topic is about the international exchange of universities. In an era of fragility, how shall we define the current era we are living in? How shall we label it? Some, from the perspective of technology, may name it the information age. Some from industry may call it the age of the fourth industrial revolution. Still others view it from the point of economic activities and say it's the age of globalization. And there are those who say it's the age of multipolarity from a political standpoint. In my opinion, from the perspective of the overarching interests of mankind, the present era is of fragility, where barbarism is hidden in the guise of civilization. Danger lurks beneath the mask of prosperity. Why does this happen? There might be two causes. First, the advancement of technology plays a role in the fragility of this era. An incident took place in May 2021. A few keystrokes on a computer from a corner of the world resulted in the shutdown of the largest oil pipeline in the United States, leading to unprecedented tension in the oil supply to a dozen states in the eastern part of America. What if similar thing happens to some vital security concerns, like the operation of high-speed trains, airplanes, and even satellites? Could they possibly be fairly controlled? No one can answer with absolute confidence. And we also face another absurd paradox in today's world. The pursuit of one's own security has resulted in the invention of a plethora of weapons of mass destruction. For instance, the nuclear weapons are supposed to provide protection to human beings, but on the contrary, it may destroy the planet in a second when in wrong purpose. Yet a number of countries continue to develop them. Amongst the world nuclear powers, only China and India have promised not to be the first to use nuclear weapons. What about the others? All these examples show that the advancement of the technology endangers rather than keep the world peace. In other words, the more advanced the technology, the more fragile the world becomes. Second, the proliferation of information has turned our world into an equally fragile place. There are a large number of people gathered on the internet media, and the emotional expression filled with them not only increase the alienation between different people, but also intensifies the suspicion and hostility between different countries, leaving the world more anxious and fragmented. The power of network public opinion is huge. Public opinion can infect and even control the government's decision-making. Some politicians also deliberately use the internet to incite people's emotions in order to achieve their own goals, which tears our society apart, deteriorates international relations, and makes the world more fragile. In the past 2 years, the sudden COVID-19 pandemic has filled the world with more differences, fears, grievances, and anxieties, all of which are extremely destructive. We must acknowledge that today is a fragile time, a time of insidious danger. How can we add a little more resilience and confidence to the world and make it less fragile? Fundamentally, there is no other way than to enhance humanity's benevolence and wisdom. Of course, governments can sign agreements and adopt preventive protocols and measures, but no matter what kind of system or measure is employed, they will not be effective when human benevolence and rational wisdom are absent. The world can only become more resilient and safer when human beings exhibit more benevolence and wisdom. Then how shall we instill more benevolence and wisdom into mankind? This is a grand topic involving the progress of humanity. All organizations, groups, and individuals, together with the governments, businesses, and educational institutions, should share responsibility. Among them, educational institutions, especially universities, should play a fundamental, pioneering, and strategic role in the enhancement of the good qualities in humanity. Universities have traditionally been the highlands of civilization and reason, thus should take the initiative to assume more social and international responsibilities, and there should be more international exchanges between universities. This is a calling for universities in response to this fragile era we live in. First, the university is a cultural highland and an upward force for the good. It is one of the duties of university to inherit, study, and develop human culture and promoting exchanges between different cultures. The greatness of a university lies first of all in her lofty realm and her mission to promote the progress of humanity. The fundamental mission of the university is to cultivate outstanding talents and through them to promote the progress of society and even the progress of the human civilization. In different times and countries, the goal of nurturing people at universities may vary, but in general, all universities are in pursuit of progress. The exchanges between universities for this reason can be considered friendship between gentlemen. The greatness of a university also lies in its openness and inclusiveness. To cultivate outstanding talents, a university needs to set up a wide range of disciplines, introduce different cultures, and create a relaxed atmosphere that embraces the individuality and innovation of students, the different perspectives and personalities of scholars. Therefore, people with different positions and cultural backgrounds can communicate freely within and among universities. The greatness of a university is also manifested in the fact that it gathers a group of visionary and benevolent individuals who are both virtuous and wise. In other words, universities are often the cradle of great minds. The unique mission and atmosphere of a university have nurtured many thinkers and scientists who are knowledgeable, insightful, and humane. The views and attitudes of the great minds about the world have enlightened and inspired many in this world. Only when the great minds can articulate their thoughts and are heeded by the masses. Second, the university is the highland of rationality and a force for seeking truth. It is the inherent style of the university to understand and transform the world with an objective and rational attitude. Universities must undertake scientific research, and the basic requirements of scientific research is rationality and objectivity. There is no place for hustling, arrogance, or prejudice. Compared with the complexities and noises of the society, the ivory tower can be a relatively peaceful and quiet, where conventional values and ideas are transcended with objectivity and fairness. Therefore, it is easier to communicate among universities and to achieve mutual understanding. In today's world, due to the advancement of information technology, international exchange takes place with a much broader scope and higher frequency than ever before, but the quality of exchange is debatable, and the process can be fraught with suspicion, misunderstanding, and even hostility. The world doesn't become more peaceful and harmonious because of the advancement of information technology. Why? Why is that? In my opinion, this is mainly related to the purpose of people's communication. Very often, people do not communicate to attain real mutual understanding, but to achieve various practical interests. It is hard to enact sincere exchange or communication between people or organizations when interests are concerned. But to universities, such communication is both possible and achievable. From historical view, the university has been a symbol of civilization and rationality. But in today's world, we cannot ignore the solid truth that universities are falling behind the society, and their voices are getting weaker and hardly be heard. In the field of science and technology, the most advanced technology is often produced in high-tech enterprises rather than in universities, while the syllabus is often outdated. In the field of humanities and social sciences, it is often not the university that has the greatest impact on the public opinion, but the social media influencers, because the gentlemen in the university often disdain to participate in the superficial debate on the internet. In terms of reality of international exchanges between universities, a good foundation has been achieved, but there remains room for improvement in both breadth and depth. At present, exchanges between Chinese and European universities are primarily carried out in the form of joint programs, visiting scholars, international conferences, or symposiums organized by institutions from both sides. Exchanges between university administrators of the two sides have achieved some success. In the decade or so before the COVID-19, National Academy of Education Administration has organized multiple groups of university leaders to carry out in-depth study visits to Europe, America, etc., which has exerted very positive results. Another highlight is the China-EU LEAD project, which has been running for 6 years. Under the LEAD project, academic leaders from universities in China and multiple European countries engaged in joint study tours and seminars, as well as joint publications. As part of LEAD2, NAEA also successfully organized the joint program for university administrators from China and Europe. But the numbers of such programs are far than enough. There are two issues to be addressed in the international exchanges between Chinese and European universities. Firstly, high-level exchange is rare. The exchange between high-level experts and scholars, as well as university leaders, are limited, insufficient in both frequency and duration. Secondly, the interaction is far from intensified. Sometimes it is monologue from either side and lacks of meaningful dialogue. Most of the time, it is a one-way learning journey for Chinese side from Europe, while European counterparts lack of in-depth understanding of Chinese university and its culture. Despite the effect of COVID-19 pandemic, I assume there are two possible approaches to strengthen the international exchange between universities. Firstly, to promote students' mobility among universities in Europe or China. International understanding lies fundamentally in cultural understanding, with a focus on people-to-people exchange and connection. It is a good idea that EU is seeking to establish a number of European universities. The students' mobility among universities within EU will both help facilitate learning and stimulate innovation and foster mutual understanding between EU countries, enhance the identity of European civic, and the integration of European cultures. It may not be logistically feasible for Chinese and European universities to communicate as closely as among European universities, but the two sides share a lot in common and can be reciprocal in many aspects. Therefore, it might be mutually beneficial to enable more students to study in each side. Secondly, a mechanism for in-depth exchanges between scholars and leaders of Chinese and European universities shall be established. The dialogue between scholars and university leaders should play a key role in promoting the communication between universities. When these individuals are able to exchange frankly and freely, the meaningful and effective communication between universities will naturally follow. It must be noted that the communication of ideas and culture is a slow effort, which requires time, natural observation, feeling, and experience on the spot, as well as face-to-face in-depth communication and collision. As for the specific approach, is it possible to organize a joint research group to respond to the major concerns of the international community? Recently, the WHO invited 26 experts from around the world to start a new round of tracing the origin of COVID-19 virus. This practice may also prove inspiring for universities. We hope that in the future, universities in Europe and China can explore a new path of exchange and cooperation. In conclusion, there has never been a time when it is more imperative than today for universities to strengthen international exchanges, for the fate of humanity is at stake, because it is a duty of universities, and because humanity seems to have no better option. We all need to be more aligned on the basis of goodwill and reason, and this is the unassailable mission of universities. Thank you.